Yeah, welcome back to another Gloves Up, Gloves On. And Marsan, As I should have called it, Gloves Up, Gloves On, Marsan, social distance, you know what I mean? All right, so we kind of there, the Twitter FM brand, you know, represent. We have Mayor Richie Thomas, you could not tell you, big up Wifey, big up his son Harris, yeah. And we have a special guest, his father Jesse, Mayor Richie Thomas, close on, Marson, Marson.
And they go Sarge in the background.
Yeah,
What's up, Sarge?
yes,
There you
come on,
go.
man.
There you go.
Our first guest, we're still looking for sponsor, right? But we're gonna do it. I have a lot of things to cover. And as usual, I am the mayor of the honor to have Richie Thomas, our mayor, the youngest mayor ever in Mount Vernon. Not only that, he's our youngest councillor also. So in the background is the great Bob Marley, and we have to send out our love to Rita Marley, who Mayor, she have a second stroke, and big up Rita Marley, you know what I mean? And we pray for a quick recovery. Yeah. I will say stop the rumor, because there was probably a bad rumor that she passed. And the Minister of Sport and Development, in Jamaica, Babsy Grange, have to come out and speak. So that was cruel. That was incredible, ridiculous for somebody to send on social media that Rita Marley passed. That iconic, a reggae artist or a first lady of reggae with the high cheese master Griffith Jubilee, and Mr. Mayor, it was sad for us. Cause soon as they sent out that, everybody was mourning, crying, and then the minister in Jamaica have to come out and say, listen, stop it. It's not true. Why a lot of people using social media for the wrong reason, Mr. Mayor?
You know, misinformation, disinformation is becoming a huge component of just what it is, and we have to be more informed. We have to be um, ready to discern what's going on. And all I can tell you is we have a lot happening in our communities, and even right now, like that's why we out here, on Fourth Avenue in the storefront to make sure that we can really do the work that needs to be done, and we doing everything that needs to be done because this is exactly what has to happen with COVID going on, with the fact of people losing their jobs, losing their homes. We're going to have
slow distribution of the vaccine.
there's so
All of
many
that.
things, and a lot of things not only to discuss, but we need to make sure that we hold our public officials accountable
Right.
because this is the time when we need the most, and every time we turn around, we hear about problem after problem after problem, and that's why we got to make sure that we inform ourselves and keep talking about the issues that matter to people, and that's why we do gloves on, gloves off, so that we can make sure that we take a swing for the truth and for the people.
All right, it is January the 12th. I want to say happy birthday to one of my grandson in Jamaica, Mari, 6 year old today. Again, it's our first show back from last year, the 2020. And this is 2021, January 12th. And as you hear the mayor said, he speak as always with clarity. Our show is all about clarity, sports, awareness, current affair, and a guest. So inside the house, we have none other than one of Jamaica finest intelligent officer, Sarge. Sarge.
Big Sarge.
First guest, 2021 there, people. I mean, you want me to speak, right? Come on some more, cause the mic way over here. Why you?
Well, just for me, you know, being in Mount Vernon for 12 years,
I hope them my ear,
coming from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, living for 20 years, with my daughter there and my wife, and to come to Mount Vernon and experience, you know, a young man. I was just making that same sentiment a while ago in the back to my friends there that I can't comprehend certain issues, man, because I, with my thinking, yes, I'm thinking that if I was born in Jamaica in a district and I went to primary school, the first school year, and then I go to high school and I graduate, and my ambition is to do good for my people that I grow up with. My son and daughter are going to go to the same school that I go to, our higher learning school, whatever. And when I see, man, that the agenda that that individual is pursuing,
This Mary is talking
you,
about
you
Richard
know,
Thomas.
he had to go up with Thomas for
10 years
4 years.
in office, yeah.
For 4 years, Sarge here, been listening in the background, man. And I really feel so sad in my heart, man, to know that all the good on the agenda for 4 years that
You
they
know,
come and ask for to do good for us.
let me check in and make a go biblical. When Moses did leave out of Egypt, he went into the wilderness. The 40 days and 40 nights. That means it's supposed to be like 2 months and a half. And him come back and you see what the people them was doing. They was spreading idol. They was doing things crazy. Now we're not saying that Richie Thomas and Moses are right. But the thing about it, it is good for Richie, a young man. And as you say, a man will bring him graduation and and the first mayor ever in office ever graduate from a college. You know what I mean? Richie do everything to show you say. A fresh start Mount Vernon get. A we say Millennium, a we say Beach, a we say what? Memorial Field, a we say
Bridge.
Cruise. You're gonna be cruising all the way behind Target, coming off, disembark, embark, because we're bringing what Mount Vernon never have, economics. So the thing's still working. But today, I believe the mayor not focused on Richard Thomas. We are focusing on urgent need, the stimulus.
Yep.
Siege in the capital. Washington is, head hot. The mayor, everybody on Mount Vernon shouting, we need Richard Thomas. It is getting to a fever pitch now where people say, something, enough, bring back Richard Thomas. So Richard know that. But today's show is about the people. Right, Mr. Mayor? And that's why we are Richard the gloves off and gloves on. We can take a punch, but we want to reach if they can take a punch.
I doubt.
And you did take a punch.
Yeah, I took
more than one.
More than one. More than
Come
one.
at you in the ribs, A good thing we have a teeth. Richard the sting like a butterfly and fly like a bee. And a little flight passes from one, mix up a little two phrase and the boss, yeah, not is still pretty, like Mommy Dolly, not a bruise, So the man who fight and run away, live to fight and run away. So Sergeant, right?
That's it.
Not over till the fat lady thing. So we here, and it's a new year. The same year, the thing is new, it's not the slim lady I was saying. But it's a new year. And we using
2021.
type of concept to do this. We say forgiveness. So we say forgive them, Lord, and they don't know what they do.
Yep.
I would say, what about mercy? We have to mercy. So we know what we are doing. Let's clear it over and peace is up for grabs for the council. Controller is up for grabs, yes.
It's all up, and this is where we have a lot in front of us. But I definitely want to keep a sharp eye on what's behind us, because the past is always present. History is in the present.
Yes.
And I want to just briefly talk about something that inspired me. I was looking online the other day and I came across a story of this young lady, this young, black woman who just graduated law school. And she was so happy and proud that she passed the New York bar exam. She's admitted as an attorney now. And she said, this accomplishment is not just for me, it's for my mother and my grandmother. It's for the people behind me who my grandmother was a slave. Her grandmother was someone that had so many troubles and trials, wasn't able to go to school, and then to raise a daughter who then gave birth to her, who both went to school and went on ahead to do something great with their lives. And she said that trauma, that pain from over the years of having to know the history of her family is something that she's not so she's proud of, but what she's most proud of is that the next generation, her kids and their kids will never know illiteracy. They'll know how to read, they'll know how to write, they'll know how to count, they'll know how to, advance themselves through education. Because knowledge is power. And so that story of this young woman who basically acknowledged the trauma, the generational trauma, broke the generational curse to advance herself and her family is truly amazing. And I was hoping that Mount Vernon can do the same. We could break that generational curse of people holding us back. But you know that the fight sometimes is fixed. But that's why I fight or I fought so hard to make sure that the people had systems and structures in place to take care of them after I stepped back. And you mentioned it on the front end, the food distribution, the bridges, Memorial Field, and the big slide, yes, slide the city. But my okay bet moment, the same way Stacey Abrams went ahead and changed and flipped Georgia. My okay bet moment was when the Mount Vernon passed the city charter amendments.
That was your okay.
That was my okay.
I was gonna get wrong to that. Said at the Paris, I was really like it. And I remember when Richard Thomas put that president everything to show that is the cleanest government you will ever have in Mount Vernon. Go and look on the charge again. That's crap. That came to even St. Maurice at school. You know, I'm telling you, I was sneakers and low away my way now. It's, listen, man, I don't want to start. It's going to leave me here alone. We're going to come back. We're going to do the thing right. Because we are looking at moving. And the mirror have tears in mind. See, 1 year now, we sit down and the city falling apart.
And I can read messages from from people online, from residents, from people that work in the city, people that left the city because of all of the ruckus that's going on.
My son leave. He goes down to Connecticut. They just from Richie a year ago we lose like almost. Right now it's gentrification because right now if you go on the south side, it's mostly getting politicalized, with a lot of influx of Spanish. Now, if you go on the north side and Lincoln Avenue and Gramatan, they're literally speaking pure Spanish over there and they no English, you hardly hear English. No, I'm racist or anything, but I'm telling you, when Richard Thomas was there, we wouldn't have all that tall building up there at Fleetwood, make it look like a different city we in when all is Mount Vernon. That building up at Fleetwood, Mr. Mayor, it's like a Manhattan. I don't know how
The building up in Fleetwood is still being built, and it's been under construction for more than 4 years now, and it shouldn't have taken that long. It shouldn't take that long,
Right.
and you have to wonder what's going on. Why is it taking so long? And the other part is, I insisted for that building and any building that was being built in Mount Vernon to hire people that live in the city, people that have the skills and have the ability to contribute. Not just people that work in construction, but people that work in professional services, accountants, lawyers, engineers. You go down the list. But the problem is when I reach out to people and ask them, how's it going now? And they see projects going up in the city, projects going up without permits, projects going up without safety. It's terrible. These people are excluded. And here it is, the middle of a pandemic, when we need our government most to include us, they exclude us.
Let me tell you something. The mayor not champion. Don't even get no. We are just elaborating as we always do. This is gloves on our show that we have been doing for the last 8 years. And there was a pandemic and the COVID-19 made us come back. And the mayor doesn't spend much time with his family because Richie values family. Richie, a lot of people come to me and say, Jesse, Memorial Field is operating, but they must be doing it like night. It's just like a sneaking project going on. It's not like you, Richie, where take the camera, you don't understand. And they train, But why is it different? Why is it going so ironic, mediocre? mystical and it was nothing like that. He
Yeah,
wanted to have a
why the
transparent.
mystery? Yeah, why the mystery?
And you want the confidence stand or anything that go with the local get definitely to stand out of it to sell what they want to sell instead of they auctioning off people
So
from all over.
so
So, you know,
let's just
what's going on?
let's use an example. How
Right,
about this? The example I have, the example that comes to mind is Mario Cuomo Bridge.
right,
When it
right.
opened, a lot of people saying, "Oh, nobody's going to use the footpath, nobody's going to cross the bridge, all this stuff on foot." That was a bunch of baloney. Mario Cuomo Bridge, the old Tappan Zee Bridge,
Yeah,
it attracted over 250,000 people to go, to use the pedestrian walkway for the first 6 months it opened.
yes,
And if you think about the ability of if there were vendor opportunities to put kiosks across the bridge, be it for water, be it for coffee, whatever you can fit safely, those kiosks will generate money based on the traffic of people passing by. That same methodology applies to kiosks in Times Square. The same methodology applies to here in Mount Vernon. What you're talking about, the kiosk or the vendor stand
right,
in the park, they generate real revenue.
yes.
And that's where Mount Vernon lost control of its park in itself when it gave control of the Memorial Field project to the county. Why? Why would Mount Vernon give up its self control to somebody else? And not only that, they can point the finger and
Okay.
say, "Oh, Mount Vernon can't do this. Mount Vernon can't do that." What they're saying is black people can't do this. Black people can't do
So,
that. But that's not the case. The case is there are forces here that want to hold us down and hold us back. And there are forces here that are playing out right now, this right very moment, that want to see us not succeed. And you have to ask why. And when you look around, you talk about how the neighborhoods are changing. You talk about how the city's being purchased and gentrified.
right.
Why? It's happening because we're being excluded by the very people that are in charge of the government. And you ask yourself, what are they doing? We know what they have not done. They haven't made the monies available to restaurants. They have not issued dining permits for people to have outdoor dining. That's a very basic, easy concept to do.
Right.
Building permits
Yeah.
for people to work have been completely stalled. You go down and ask yourself about garbage collection. They're not even collecting garbage properly.
What about this guy, Richie, who asked 1 billion permit and then used the 1 billion permit to start the next billion on the down there at the West Trends?
So, they're doing whatever they want. And that's where you have to ask yourself, like, what are they doing? Because you have to understand that, Mount Vernon as a city is a real big business.
Right.
And the business is not operating properly because you have people in there that are mismanaging the business and the affairs of the city. And I just want to highlight the fact, like you just said, that one permit was expanded to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
So you ask yourself why? Why did they feel
Here,
so comfortable
yeah,
to
right.
do that?
Not under Richie government, no. You
So
know.
when I look at Mount Vernon and I see the disarray, be it from crime, be it from the activities that need to happen to support people, and I see the flailing, and I see the problems just getting worse. It really breaks my heart. Really breaks my
You
heart.
know, the other day we have a flare up in City Hall where, the stimulus money was, kind of investigated that most of the employees, them take the money and false business, because they know. And there was investigation where they find out, but all of a sudden, City Hall say it's investigating. We don't hear the final analysis, and we don't know. But, Mr. Mayor, I think we should have a safe proof that we don't have this again if the second stimulus come out. And the first one, even though we don't hear anything about it again, it says whoever said them investigated it and everything. But it was a major headline in the news. So, how you see that, Mr. Mayor, with the next stimulus check coming out and City Hall, we don't believe it under the first know that fireman, even officer, police officer, and city worker, they did involved in a scheme where they set up, and this
You
you
know,
know,
it,
business to
it,
take the money,
the culture of that starts at the top, and you have to ask, what is leadership going to do to make sure that you have accountability there, and the leadership is simply not going to touch it. So you're not going to have any leadership on that issue. Just stop right there. But with respect to city services, we have to make sure that the city operates. And what troubles me most is that um, Mount Vernon is looking at a huge budget increase of 4%.
Yeah.
And you just ask yourself, where are the taxpayers? Where are the people going to come from to pay the extra money, knowing that COVID ravaged the economy, knowing that COVID has created a situation where, we have a tremendous amount of pressure on businesses, on homeowners, restaurants who can't get outdoor dining permits in Mount Vernon for some reason.
I think your proposal in the last election was up to 2%, not 4%.
It was less than 2%. It was actually under 1%, and we had it so low because I had zeros for the first 3 years. They wouldn't even.
But I remember
me,
you put out the budget.
Right.
They want to bring back the budget to you. You was there. I mean, they back you, but I don't think you ever bring it to 4%, which
no,
is
ever. And this is where I just want to highlight that even in the budgets that were passed, they took positions away from my office. I didn't have monies for a police commissioner. I didn't have monies for a press secretary. I had no support, and the city council was definitely working to make sure that Richard Thomas failed. Not just Richard Thomas, but Mount Vernon failed. But that's why I fought so hard to make it clear that I'm not going to fail, and I'm not going to fail the people of Mount Vernon. I'm going to fight to the very end, and even beyond the end, I'm going to keep fighting because what I'm put behind is going to keep working for the people. And as you see, the food distribution, the bridges, fixing the sewers, a lot of things that I started are continuing, but there are some issues that have been raised that really trouble me, and it really troubles me to see, projects that are being built right now, being built without people from Mount Vernon working on them, be it Memorial Field, be it the new development project up the block on 4th Avenue and 3rd Street. I think, not getting your fair value for that, not having Mount Vernon get equity out of it is an issue that we really need to truly address.
Let me talk about an issue where you take pride in it. You take pride in it.
Yeah,
when Montefiore was coming in Mount Vernon, you make it specifically clear that you don't just come to do business, you come to do business.
Yeah.
So everything and anything you do, like the Mount Vernon Fest, you make sure Montefiore is visible. All right, now they have a crisis over there, Mr. Mayor, and they want to close it down, and you say, okay, do this in the time of pandemic. All of a sudden, everything is quiet, they say they're not going to move and all these things. As a farmer, I urge the mayor with that. What do you think that go on now, Mr. Mayor, with this hospital in there and it get quiet, the people stop demonstrate, but it's still, because they say they're not moving or what.
But they need to make Montefiore Mount Vernon Hospital a research hospital for COVID. That's what they need to do.
Yeah, but they use the Mount Vernon, Westchester now. If you notice, they designate Westchester as the hub right
But
now.
that's why I'm saying they need to make Mount Vernon Hospital a research center, a learning center for coronavirus. That will bring billions of dollars into the center of the city. That's what they need to do.
Yes.
And I'm advocating for them to expand their education program there because that's where the future is.
Right.
Education. But for some reason, you're not going to hear that coming from the folks in City Hall. They are visionless and they have no ideas. And that's why I keep pointing it out because the reason why I keep pointing it out is because as people watch this and they shake their heads, this is why, 60% of the people don't trust elections. This is why 68% of the people have, faith issues with public officials because they're not serving the public, they're serving themselves. And that's why, the pushback and the resistance that I received was because I was working for people. And I'll give you one mathematical example at Memorial Field. They spent $4 million to demolish the grandstands and set up, all sorts of stuff around the
You
field.
spend what?
I spent $189,000, $189,000 to demolish the grandstands, and that's the real cost of the demolition. Why did they spend over $4 million on what? And you had the illegal dumping happen, and
Well,
nothing
just
happened.
disappear.
So,
Nobody
so,
don't know about that.
so it took a sacrifice. It took a sacrifice to get people to focus
And
again.
don't forget you have a grand opening of $2 million that's going on live the short tenure as,
Yeah,
as mayor, you know.
and so all the money that was wasted, right? They spent over $6 million, just wasted it to turn over control to the county. Now, it took a sacrifice to get everybody to wake up and say, enough is enough, stop and fix it. And that's what's happening. It took my sacrifice, which I'm happy to have done for the people of Mount Vernon.
After 20
But the
years.
same thing goes for what happened at the Capitol. What happened at the Capitol last week was a true disgrace in terms of the violence that resulted in loss of life. That was just a tremendous disgrace that it resulted in violence and loss of life. I want to
As
say
a
that again.
former mayor, was it scary? Let me tell you this, Richie, what I say you did. When you take office, Richie, you used to have police with scamming and everything. You said, no, no, no. I'm going to give back City Hall to the people. And you take away the scamming, everything. I was scared for you, Richie. I tell you, like, you could have just come up in City Hall anytime to see you, because you was that type of mayor. No, Richie, when you look back and see what's going on, and not only that, remember argument coming that in the next 18 more 8 days, all the city gonna be siege. Mr. Mayor, was you at any time scared seeing yourself in City Hall and people coming there, or because you was such a popular mayor?
No, I still keep my faith in the people. And what I can tell you is this: when you treat the people's needs as holy, the people take care of you. They stick with you. And no matter what lies there are out there, the truth is truth. And the truth is that people understand that there are very few that are going to risk their lives and very few that are going to stand up to do everything in their power to protect people. And that's why I'm so grateful and thankful that the people of Mount Vernon are still standing by me, because they know that, there have been lots of plots and schemes over the years that have been set in motion by people that have that kind of come well in advance of me. But nonetheless, I just know that I'm very thankful that the people have really taken steps to always be there and support me, and that's why I always felt comfortable inside City Hall.
You know,
So look, that's why I can tell you right now that what happened at the Capitol,
it is a disgrace.
it's a disgrace, and it should have never resulted in the loss of life. We have to thank Eugene Goodman for leading that mob away from the Senate chambers.
Richie, it remind me.
It was God at work.
You were Andre Wallace, and he was going at you, was poor, you just humble, and you never ever, and it come on again to you, our present mayor. You did it the right way. You go write a book. You said, listen, people, listen, and you bring back history and tell them about something that similar happened to you way back. And everybody can prove it today that you say unfair game, it played twice. No, we're not saying that, we don't cry like baby. But remember, Richie could have called us, say, let's run up in City Hall. Richie concede as a man. He make the thing go because I have a beautiful wife and his family. And him don't want disgrace Mount Burnham. No, Richie, what we see in the capital is, I wouldn't say a deranged person.
Yeah.
I would have said that if somebody will stretch the constitution to what we say unprecedented limit. It's just that it's not fair. Past 74 million people voting for somebody not joke, that's still everything.
Right.
Tell the truth.
It shows that our country is divided, and it shows that there are issues that we have to confront.
Big time.
And white supremacy, racism are two big issues that must be confronted. But what really needs to be confronted is the coordination of the siege. How come the assignments that were made to deny backup and to deny resources for better crowd control, Those are the questions that need to be answered. And so, what you're going to see happen over the next 100 days is you're going to see a full fledged investigation into that. What led to those decisions that exposed the Capitol to such controversy, such mayhem that resulted in the loss of life? And while the House will vote tomorrow to impeach President Trump, it's not going to result in any conclusory action because by the time it reaches the Senate, he's not going to be president no more, and they're just going to kind of make it go away. But from what I understand, it's not just going to go away. Based on what I'm hearing and seeing, they're going to try and bring it back under a different process where they may try to bring the president under scrutiny or charges of sedition or other charges that will result in a much different outcome if the Republicans were in charge. So now that you're going to have a Democratic-controlled Congress, a Democratic-controlled Senate, Democratic White House, you're going to see some real accountability, I want to say, for a lot of people that were involved in this. But where it ultimately goes, I think we're going to find out in about 4 months from now. That's my assessment of the matter.
Before we go any further, make we congratulate the president-elect and our first black female vice president, Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. Because before we get cut off because of coding, if you can remember, you go back and look on all our show, go back to Gloves Off, Gloves On, yep. Father Gassi and Richie Thomas, or Richie Thomas, I mean Richie Thomas and Father Gassi. You will see that. And we did endorse the vice president and the president-elect Joe Biden. But underneath the aspect that, they have to come and do much better than But Mayor Thomas,
But we also want to congratulate
Senator down there,
Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff. They turned Georgia blue. Blessings and big up to Stacey Abrams. Look, and the key thing I want to highlight about Stacey Abrams is that she rejected the old guard Democratic way. She said, we're going to go into the streets, we're going to go listen to people, and we're going to convince them on our principles as to why they're going to vote.
Yes.
And that's where I have to say, okay, bet, because that's what she said. She said she's going to double down, triple down, and make sure that the vote turns out to transform Georgia into a blue state.
Yes.
So what I can tell you is this. We have our seminal moment coming back again. We had the charter change, which is something that needed to happen.
Yes.
The first time it happened in over 125 years in the city.
Richard Thomas.
And now with COVID, the problems of evictions and landlords and just the economy being completely shattered.
Clear confusion.
We need to make sure that City Hall on the local level gets its act together to protect people that need protection. Otherwise, you're going to see City Hall clam up, get silent, stick their head in the sand, and allow all the people to be slaughtered because they are afraid to protect them. And that's what they wanted when they pushed me out of office. They wanted someone in office that's not going to fight back. They wanted someone in office that's not going to question what's really happening and question how the people can benefit. You don't see that happening. If you did, you would see outdoor dining permits issued throughout 2020, but they never were. So I just use that as one small example of a larger problem because time is ticking, and we really need everybody to be vocal and advocate the City Hall to step up and stand up for the people of the city.
When you walk through the city after a year out of office,
yep,
and you look around, and you see Mount Vernon that you have the futuristic plan. You see the bridge them after 125 years
being replaced.
14th Avenue Bridge replaced. We see all the bridges, but we noticed that they didn't have a fanfare for the bridge because it was done. So your legacy won't embrace that, but you say it's okay, Mr. Mayor,
about the work.
I know that you love Mount Vernon, but is there a possibility in the future you're really gonna make back a run for this city? We have to put that on record. We're getting everything out there. Cause listen to people. This is gloves on, gloves on. Big up Father Bailey over there, so.
Yeah.
The man always love Richard Thomas and Remember,
Mr. B,
we,
Mr.
Sir
B.
Richard Thomas, so big up Father Billy, big up his wife. And remember, he have that daughter where he just
Baby
futuristic.
Diana, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
So,
so, you know, Richard Thomas, everybody, because the street is just like, we want Richard Thomas, we want Richard Thomas. And I personally don't want you coming to know. Mr. Bailey tell me that, say, listen, keep them on the HCMA like a big fight between Muhammad Ali and Joe Fraser. They want to know where it's going to be. I remember when they bring the fight, Wayne Manila. I was in Joe Fraser, the thriller and Manila. Everybody was like, it's going to be in America. It's going to be. You remember they used to do fight one time?
Yeah.
Like the fight they bring to Kingston, Jamaica. Yeah. Everybody like, oh my God. That was when the airline, the Baxter, everybody was doing things. And it was fun time, them time.
Yeah.
How did America become like this, Mr. Mayor? This is not the America where we.
This is not the Mount Vernon that you know I imagine.
No. Not on that Richard Thomas. It's on the so there.
The Mount Vernon that was created with the purpose of protecting people. And what I know is COVID is not an excuse. It's the reason to make it better. Yeah. And the fact that there's no plan, there's no vision, there's only just do what Mayor Thomas did before is exactly the reason why, you know, oh man. So we're gonna take a brief break and come right back to you. We're gonna hold that down because we got so many things moving and shaking. And we back. We took a brief break because we had to just reset the room, reset the mic, and make sure everything was all right. But Sarge was talking.
We have some tear gloves, you call it, so we have to take a break. You know, some of the gloves get ripped, right?
Yeah, we have to make sure the tape was in. But you know, but Sarge was sharing some insight, some prophetic insight, and we just wanted to make sure that Sarge was heard when he was talking about what he saw as a resident and someone that's here in Mount Vernon that's been, you know, desperate for change.
Yeah, factual fact, you know.
My observation, Mr. Mayor, and I said earlier, reiterating what I said. I'm not from Mount Vernon. I just moved to Mount Vernon
It's okay.
2007 from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But being here and observing the elements of the politics in Mount Vernon, the only reason why I see, that's my observation, my judgment, that they fight this young man out of his office, okay, is because he wasn't on the agenda though. You can't control it. If you could control this man, he'd still be here right now. But this man have his own vision, man, and destiny for Mount Vernon. You can imagine when you grow up in a town, bro, went to the school year, your children, your mother, your grandmother, everybody's in the environment. You must want the best for that environment.
We bring back a thing in the
saying?
fireworks that Mount Vernon I've never seen.
That's
With
it.
150 years. You go and brush a park, we bring a park that wasn't a park into a park. And we have so many proof. You remember when Richard went on the TV with that dirty water around there and I showed them the quality of water and we're going to bring back the water. I go around here, Richard, and I say, oh my God, this mere vision. Listen, Richard, man, you see this city, a city with the most highway. First, you know, and we don't want nobody to do intellectual theft. We was going to set up the first electric station. That means every highway connected to Mount Vernon, we have an electric station where we're going to get tax from and everything. Listen, just look around you. We have up there Fleetwood. We have around here the 93. We have the 22. We have around here, coming from the Deegan Express. So we have about 5 different electric stations we could have set up in Mount Vernon and just get money from that. We have the vision for the city here. And don't forget, right there in Target, we're going to bring the pier, the docking, the beach, the Lord of my Mount
Vernon. And you think of what
Memorial Field. Richard, let me just complete this.
Yeah, complete.
What I like is, Richard, they take a whole arm for your plan, the A-track, the Olympic size, everything, but they don't hold the vision of the pier. Where the pier, you can come and dock right there in Target, the beach, and then everything in one. So you'd have people from all over the world, whether with private boat, whether want to go on a cruise, just come to Mount Vernon because it is the futuristic city of the world.
And that's where, look, coronavirus has shown us how important parks and outdoor space is.
It is right now, yeah.
And if you think about, all these things that you just described are very simple. It just required programming, planning, vision. And we did that. We already proved that it's possible. And I was able to learn the true cost of doing those activities, and I was able to find ways for those activities to be paid for without even using tax dollars.
Right.
But when you have a shift in vision, a shift in purpose, you know, you lose things. You have to rebuild. So my purpose and my focus has always been to use power to create. And you have a lot of people out there that want to use power to destroy. And that's where, the biggest difference is. You hear a lot of leaders talk about, all the negative stuff. They're not talking solutions. And that's where I want to draw a clear distinction. While I may point out the flaws, I always make sure whatever fire I throw, it's followed up by some water that can put out that flame so that we can all find a way to rebuild and grow again. But that's where people get lost. And that's why a lot of public officials, they're so soft. Their egos are too much in the way, and they edge out God too much. And that's why I say, look, the focus has to be the needs of the people. And Sarge was talking about how, there was a sinkhole that formed down by his place of work.
Right.
And just, and he was also talking about how access to money, access to dollars, how it all shifted when they fought me. And I just want to make sure that he completes that story because it speaks to what Father Gassi was talking about, all the activities that we had going on to help uplift the people.
That's even the issue. It goes deeper than that to me. See? Because this is an economic country. No matter what plan you have to implement how great it is, if you don't have that money to do it, it cannot be done. And what I find out too with my research, that money is always allocated to the city to accomplish all these things. What I'm saying to you, but at one point, I was seeing Richie at the controller office with his papers that never been signed. And I was like, so why can't you give this
money?
money?
I want you to do a beg now. Go down on me and say, please, give me this. I remember we did, listen, we can't talk this thing here. Remember now, Richie, who remember when the garbage truck didn't have the brakes and crashed into your house? And Richie said, enough, enough. And he went and he get some of the garbage truck at the finest. The place look up to date because we said, we can't do this. This thing has been around so long. Mr. Mayor, you want to explain to the people why you have to go for these new garbage trucks?
What made it beautiful was that the garbage trucks, the new garbage trucks that I got, we got 6 or 7 new garbage trucks for the cost of maybe $8,000 a month. And they're brand new.
Brand new, with everything.
And the lease covered all parts and warranty for 5 years, meaning everything that broke on it, from hoses and lines and pieces in the motor will all be replaced by the manufacturer for 5 years. I mean, we'd have to buy tires and brakes, and that's customary. But everything would be repaired on them, not on us. And then after 10 years of owning it, at the 10th year, you buy it for $1. That's how typical leases go. But you would typically want to trade out of the vehicle after 7 years, let's say.
Right.
The point I'm getting to is it costs us about $30,000 each time one of our old trucks breaks down. $30,000 just to get it back on the road, and they break down 2 or 3 times a week. So when you think about that,
break down right now, because since we're here, we don't see none, and we're right here looking out. So I think all of them.
You got about 7 out of service right now, out of 14. You got 7 out of service out of 14, and that is they're out of service completely because they can't get the money to fix them. The vendors will not give the parts to fix them, and we've been lucky so far that it has not snowed because the other trucks that are necessary to plow the streets have issues as well. So the point I want to emphasize is we have taxes going up, services going down, and the math was done already to lease new equipment so we don't have to worry about these things. It's like, why should there be problems with snow removal or garbage collection in a city, especially a city that's so populated as ours?
Right.
And that's why I just say there's something else going on. How come we couldn't spend $80,000 on the year, $80,000 on the year to rent these new trucks,
Chris, nice, man. This
right?
thing look good.
Versus spending $300,000 a month in repairs?
And this old truck that they bring back. But Mr. Mayor, I'm asking.
It doesn't make sense, and that's why you have to look at the politicians in place and say, what are they really doing with our money? What's really going on?
Because the city just dry, you know what I mean? It dry.
So
nothing. It just,
so just to bring this first episode of 2021 to bring it to a close and set up our next show, we have a lot more to go into. We'll talk about the budget, of course, next week, but we want to talk about President Biden and how, we're hoping that President Biden and the work that he's going to do with incoming Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be great. I think all of the hype and the fear that is being pushed about more violence because of
what happened on the 6th of January 2021.
I think law enforcement needs to do their job. Keep the peace, keep people safe, and just deal with this. It shouldn't even be an issue trying to create a civil war or have more unrest. The election is over. There will be much debate and discussion about it over the years. And the next election, if the Republicans win the next election, they win. But right now, it looks like they're just continuing to lose because they constantly are harping on this, unfounded fears. And that's why we have to keep faith in our process, protect our democracy, and just move on with making America better. That's it. Bottom line.
Mayor of Mount Vernon talk. The Honorable Richard Thomas, the Mayor of Mount Vernon, the youngest ever in Westchester County. Nobody beat that. Only the young legislator. I think he nailed it. Well, listen now, we have to go on one of our, what we call, entertainment sports. Because we go hard in but sometimes we go soft. Mr. Mayor, make we switch up a little bit to Mike Tyson, because boxing, gloves off. Mike Tyson is back.
Yeah, Mike Tyson.
And he's like a big interest in the world everywhere now. Because even Holyfield, everybody like, yo.
Yeah, bring it back.
But what do you think about the boxing, Mike Tyson, just keeping it like,
I hope to see Mike Tyson and Holyfield get back in the ring. I think that'd be a great, great match. I'm looking forward to the match between the Saints and the Buccaneers.
Hold up now, wait, let me talk straight. Let me talk about something right now. Let me talk about a crime thing.
Talk about it.
11 and zip, Pittsburgh.
Yo.
11 and zip, Pittsburgh.
Listen, Pittsburgh.
First time in how much year?
Listen.
Everybody said Pittsburgh, and in 5 minutes,
Cleveland Browns.
What do you think of
Cleveland Browns came to play, and they knocked them down.
I'm going to say one word, and you're going to repeat me. Tom Brady. Let me hear it.
Tom Brady. Yeah, Brady. Yeah,
I mean,
it's his leadership. It's his ambition. It's his will to win. And when you have that fire, you have that spark. It goes with you.
All right, let me say it now. Was it the reason why Belichick don't take the Medal of Freedom?
I think Belichick made the right choice to not become a political pawn in this game. I think that he made the right choice in saying he's going to decline it at this moment. And he's right to have that value of respecting all the will and the voice of the people, because when you look at the Black Lives Matter marches and protests, they were highly, militarized in terms of the management of it. The signals for cell phones were scrambled. I mean, all these things were done to make sure that the peace was kept. But when you have a situation where, the opposite view comes, there's nobody assigned to the post. And you ask yourself, how could law enforcement betray itself? How can they betray, values that we hold so dear, our democratic system? So I just say that because when you have to look at the system for what it is. The system often responds to injustice with injustice because it tries to protect itself. And that's where I want to point out, like Sandusky in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, he was molesting those basketball players. Same thing with Larry Nassar. Larry Nassar was molesting all these Olympic, gymnastics, young women, right? It's like disgusting, but the system worked to protect him. And I heard last night about another example, this doctor named Robert Haddon at Columbia. He was a gynecological doctor, and he was doing the same thing for many, many years. And Columbia has ignored and protected him. So it's like these things happen. And when you raise the hard things, the ugly things, people in the system often react with, oh, well, we don't want that to be known. Or, they try to hide it. No, deal with it. And that's where I come in with, having been mayor and looking out ahead and seeing all the problems with the public. We have to deal with these problems, not dither around the edge and delay or doing anything.
Mackenzie, that's welcome that was one of the saddest, in Shamara Mackenzie because and the mayor is the first we ever see you go so hard and capture the culprit. Everybody get you did, and you just you follow behind it and have record low in crime and everything. And you protect the elder and the youngster them, Miss Mackenzie, she, even when her house get burned down, you was there already up again. But the thing about you, Mayor Thomas, the whole world know that it was an all-out battle between you and the controller, getting the resource that you want.
Yeah.
The controller is up for grab this year, Mr. Mayor, and I know you as a man, you talk it plain straight. If Mount Vernon to move forward, you have to get rid of this controller here and a better one. But with the chapter ratify and everything now, Mr. Mayor, what is your optimistic and what is your pessimistic of Mount Vernon this year? How you see Mount Vernon? You as Richard Thomas, you have set the thing and you have seen that they don't come with no plan and the play field right now. When you go around, everything is doing what Richie left back. Everything is working where you left back. The construction, the bridge work, few of the road work.
What I see as the biggest threat to Mount Vernon is not just the controller, it's the absence of leadership and it's the absence of accountability. And I've been hearing a lot of resistance to the charter amendments that were made, and that gives me a lot of pause and makes me very, very, very concerned because, we need to see what's going on, especially with the money. And I just know that Albany owes Mount Vernon. The banks that have Mount Vernon's money owe it to the people of Mount Vernon to tell us what's really happening.
Right.
And I believe that when President Biden becomes president next week and he starts getting into his economic agenda to help communities like ours, my hope is that the people of Mount Vernon make it very clear to the people that are in office to do their job, do not hide from the issues, and get that money from Washington. Advocate for Montefiore to be a center for coronavirus research, to become a learning facility for coronavirus here in the city. That's how we're going to get billions of dollars into our community to help give jobs and create a better Mount Vernon. But I just want to pause right there and say, look, we got a lot more that we could talk on, but we have to, we're going to have another show.
Listen,
we have another show. We're going to talk about the rest at another date.
We just do 10 rounds right now, Yes.
I want to say this. I turn this he's here for our people, we need that to stop. All right?
And as we always do, we make our mayor, the mayor of Mount Vernon, I'm going to be Richard Thomas, as we say, gloves on. And our first show for 2021, January the 12th, and we really have to thank everybody who support us with the likes, hit that likes, and support us. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for being a part of this great program we start on Linkage Radio, Future FM Radio. It's a team. We're going to all over the world. Bam, bam. All right, so get your gloves and get your mask. Gloves off, mask on, mask on. All right, All right, big up Bob Marley song and thing. And again, happy birthday to my grandson in Jamaica, Riverton, Maury. Big up Father Bailey, Sarge, all the guests, Cherry Buckers, everybody, talk of the town and the location, everybody, not. And we're coming back strong, 2021, Mr. Mayor, take it away. Gloves on, another episode. Check it out. Go to Google and dial. Mayor Thomas, Father Gassi, Firehouse, West Bay Farm Road. He's a higher. Big up God, you know, as we say. Love and happiness, peace. Yeah, right.